Radiant day, everyone. This is Gayatri Devi, and I'm so delighted to connect with you today. I'm a shamanic trainee of Peace Mother Gita Sacred Song, a former yoga teacher, and my goal through this channel is to assist in spreading the spiritual training that I've received through Peace Mother's grace and training, and help as many people as possible live a very happy and peaceful life, and also share my experiences. So without further ado, I've been contemplating what to share today, and I'm going to start a series on virtues. And the reason is, I'll try to cover this briefly, is that there is a lot of negativity and in the news and what's going around the world. You can just, it's so easy to tune in and then be depressed and be overwhelmed or feel like there's all this suffering and all these problems, and then people complain and they talk about it, but they don't actually do anything about it. Or they talk about it, which just feeds that energy. But I don't really see that anyone is, and I'm sure there are people doing this, but I don't see that collectively there's a set of practices or wisdom, or that people are talking about how we can actually activate more light and love and healing. And the virtues are a way of doing that, because as we cultivate virtues within ourselves, we become brighter, we become more compassionate, we become better people, and then we spread that to others, so we can change the world in that way. And we learn more about ourselves. It's part of that self-realization, enlightenment process. And we can also help others the more we understand about it. So my hope for this video is that it gives you a bit of language and wisdom, and then I'm also able to pass on a bit of the training that I've received about these various virtues. So today's, or the one I wanted to start with today is accountability. And I feel it's a big one. It came up to me today, and I've experienced in my daily life that, and I'm sure you have as well, there are people that just, and it may be part of the culture that we're into of thinking about me and mine. This is kind of society's programming. Like, I'm independent, I just do what I want, and everyone else will just figure it out. But it's not ideal, it's not compassionate, and people can create a lot of drama and a lot of problems for others because they're not holding themselves accountable for what they do. So I encourage you to make a commitment and consciously hold yourself more accountable for everything that you think, you say, and you do. As you go about, and how do you do this? Through your daily life, just starting today after listening to this video, take a look at, just be open to looking at a little deeper level, how you could, how your words are received by others. Maybe there's someone that you said you could get back to, but you didn't, and you should, and you made a promise and you broke it. So there are lots of little ways that we kind of trample over people, and not in a huge way, but we kind of minimize things. Again, this is all actually very subtle layers of suffering that we're creating and we're contributing to. And it may seem like a lot, but every little thing that we do to try to consciously bring that up makes huge differences in our vibration and also in the people around us. So it's so easy to change the world in that sense. And that's the wonder of these practices, the impeccable warrior of light practices. So first step is to, again, just make that commitment to be open and see how you can hold yourself more accountable throughout the day. Second, I want to talk about about apologizing. So second is to be able to apologize. Perhaps you can work on apologizing to people whom you've hurt, or be open to apologizing when there's just something that needs to be smoothed out. And I love the saying from Peace Mothers that when you apologize, you actually become bigger. And if you don't apologize, you become smaller. That's what makes you small, a small person. And there is, I'm sure some people feel like, oh, well, if I apologize, it's going to make me look bad or I'll look weak, so I don't do it. But that's not the case at all. In fact, the indication of a good leader is when they're able to take accountability for their actions and apologize when they made a mistake. And there's really nothing wrong with it. It feels, if you try it, I encourage you to just try it, and it feels so good. And I think it really smooths things out. Even if it's something as little as like, I'm running 5 minutes late, or I'm sorry I didn't get back to you right away, but like, it just shows that little bit of compassion and empathy for someone. Whereas if you don't address it, you're kind of, you're breeding your own arrogance. And on a very subtle level, people are receiving that. So if you can incorporate a little bit of apologizing, and again, you can, it doesn't, just as I said it doesn't have to be a big thing. And I think the more you do it, the greater that you feel, you actually start to feel really good. And it helps, it's diplomatic too. So I do encourage you to think about where you can apologize. And if you're not, also it releases guilt. So say you like to be a very ethical person and do things right, or you're a perfectionist, but you haven't been able to do it all, and in terms of your mind, and your mind is sort of saying, oh, on some level I know that I did, and then you start to feel guilty. And then you read guilt, and then the guilt makes you more angry and defensive, and all of that is actually just feeding ego and more suffering. So if you apologize, then it's gone. You don't have the guilt anymore. And I'll say this, well, I'll make it the next point is that just strive to do better next time. That's all the universe is really asking us to do.